Hi, and welcome to another installment of the Self-Reliant Way to Master Creativity and Productivity. So in this episode, I want to step back and take a philosophical, large picture view of the whole idea that we're presenting to you in this course. And then in subsequent episodes, we'll scale it down into specific principles and various ways of going about doing things. And I sure wish Andy could give this episode because he understands things like quantum physics and stuff that just it goes way over my head. But I want to put this out to you, and it might give you some food for thought. It might give you something to think about a little bit. And I would love to get your comments below when you're done listening to the video. So I want to talk about defining the overall attributes of the creative process. And I want to understand with you the Newtonian and energetic models. Okay, we take a deep breath together. And away we go. Sir Isaac Newton proposed that the universe consisted of isolated parts that were essentially dead objects bouncing off one another. This theory perceived the universe not unlike a billiard table with many balls bouncing off each other. In this Newtonian view, the universe reflected dead matter composed of concrete, separate objects. The logical extension of this belief sees human beings manipulating this dead matter, however they choose, in order to accomplish personal short-term goals. And this model has existed for the last several hundred years, until recently, when we emerged into the quantum or energetic worldview, which recognizes everything as energy, everything living, everything alive. You and I and everything else represent energy fields within larger energy fields. So this model forms three conclusions. Everything exists as energy, everything exists in relationship, and everything lives in potential. So this sees us as energy fields merging into a larger energy field, which is a stark contrast to the Newtonian worldview, which looks at everything as fixed, separate objects. So quantum theory represents a complete paradigm shift, everything nested in energy fields, everything in potential. Based on quantum physics, we live in a constantly evolving, unfolding, and emerging universe. This philosophically challenges us. Living in a fixed world, the Newtonian model creates a stronger illusion of more control and less change. And embracing change means letting go of control. Furthermore, the Newtonian model interprets life primarily through a black and white, right and wrong orientation based on control of these dead objects and how we each decide to manipulate them. And the world historically has functioned based primarily on the Newtonian model. And in Western culture, if something represents dead matter, what moral restraints are there? We simply manipulate for our own benefit. If I'm a separate entity here and you're a separate entity over there, and nature and everything else constitutes merely dead matter, then what moral constraints do we have? But if everything contains life in the form of energy and we're part of this living universe, well, that's a whole different perspective then. By seeing ourselves as separate in the old model, Ideas develop such as we're going to throw something away, like waste. And well, where would that be? There exists no away. It just goes somewhere else. So we recognize all living beings as part of this living earth. This approach creates radically different actions and consequences regarding how we live our lives, not to mention how we engage the creative process potentially. We no longer view the universe as simply dead matter for us to manipulate, where our chances of survival are bleak, frankly, due to the toxic byproducts of our own self-interests. Consider two people or groups in conflict. If there's a way that they stay connected to each other, each side can name their needs and feelings while the other side actively listens to these needs and feelings, this allows mutual expression, and in so doing, a solution can more likely find them. And needs and feelings constitute human energy. When our conscious minds align with the ongoing energy flow between us, we stay connected to the energy flow between us and help that energy to flow, thus aligning our fields of energy together. This demonstrates life as viewed through the energetic model, larger fields of energy coming together and allowing possibilities not otherwise available when seeing ourselves as separate objects. By believing everything surrounding us represents life and we all coexist, our discernment starts to change, and very dramatically. Think about gliding down a river, driving a car, flying in an airplane, and notice the endless course correction. Yet, we arrive at our destination virtually every time. And sometimes we don't reach our predetermined destination, but instead, we arrive at a better one. And a client who took the course after reading this passage had this to say: long ago there existed a saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Perhaps from the Newtonian point of view, but that's bliss to the creative process based on quantum physics. An idle mind is not so much idle, but available, ready to receive, interpret, process, and execute. When connected to our creative process, there develops such a connection to everything. It's this soft joy, but it's infinitely more sustainable and easier on my mind, body, and soul. So when we follow the energy of life and stop exclusively functioning out of our heads, all sorts of happy accidents occur. The connectivity between ideas creates its own form and structure. Making our way often involves getting ourselves out of the way. Staying available allows us to recognize what otherwise would be invisible, to understand with irrevocable faith how an entire universe works on our behalf, helping with creative pursuits, large and small. You notice how we take for granted the random ideas, thoughts, and experiences which influence our individual fates like they just came out of nowhere? They didn't. But we must first acknowledge being part of something bigger. This means setting aside thoughts that say, I already know everything about this. Nothing else can help me, or I have to figure this out all by myself, so I can take the credit or avoid the blame. Mastering the creative process involves knowing our desired outcome, openness towards the process, and utilizing guidelines that ensure we're staying on track versus veering off. Ultimately, we enjoy the process and have the best possible solution. Even an outcome different possibly better than originally thought. So consider the relationship between ebb and flow, between not showing up at all and taking complete control. Maximum openness and receptivity to the creative process involves showing up with no judgment, ready to receive without expectation, and assisting by receiving ideas, not just making them up ourselves, but receiving them too and manifesting them. So, time for our homework assignment. And that would be this. What can you do to enjoy the process of your life more? And what big ideas do you have that your inner voice is telling you to get started on? Because the best time to get started is not today. Right now. Yeah, you got it, and you can do it. So thanks for watching. I welcome you to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and may you always enjoy the game of life.